Welcome back to Offerings of Hope. And today's video, I will be discussing an analysis that I wrote in reference to a portion of the book, The Screwtape Letters, written by C.S. Lewis. Uncle Screwtape is a henchman of the devil, whose occupation involves writing letters to his nephew Wormwood. Through these letters, Screwtape is mentoring him in the ways of deception and damnation. Under Screwtape's tutelage, Wormwood is tasked with deceiving a particular mortal man. In one letter, Screwtape reminds his nephew of a phenomenon coined in hell called the law of undulation. Screwtape describes this law in reference to it being a human behavior as the completely natural experience of having periods of peak motivation, inspiration, and expansiveness, but also low periods of sluggishness and lack of motivation. In other words, the natural emotional peaks and valleys that humans experience daily. Screwtape then reminds Wormwood that the low points, or valleys, are not caused by their influences, but are, however, an opportunity to exploit the human in question. Blurring your vision to the reality of this natural undulation of emotion and setting you to thinking that life consists mostly of low points is one of their tactics to lure you into their clutches. To make you think life is going to be a slog through the mud forever and break your spirit. God, described only as the enemy by Screwtape and cohorts, has given us free will, the power to make our own choices. We can choose to move any direction, whether that be toward God or away. Every choice is an opportunity for growth, and we are never forced or coerced into choosing God. This is why God's presence can seem rather subtle. If we could fully remember and experience the true nature of God, then our opportunities to learn would not be as impactful. We feel confusion, separation, and it is through this experience of perceived separation from God that we all inevitably find our way back, but only of our own accord. And God would have it that when you find yourself in a valley, that is the period to trust more deeply. For it is in the valleys of life where growth is most potent. That was my analysis of the Screwtape Letters. It's a powerful idea because even Screwtape and Wormwood are aware of the natural human behavior that as a human we're inevitably going to experience highs and lows throughout our life. That's part and parcel of what it means to be human. And they want to exploit those low points. They want to make us feel like the low points are just everything. And they're always going to be low points and never high points. So now here's an excerpt from the book in which Screwtape is writing to Wormwood about the enemy or God's plan for humans. They refer to humans as creatures, and they refer to God as the enemy. But Screwtape is fully aware of the scheme of God and how he, she, it, God is genderless, wants them to grow or encourages them to grow. And here's an example. He will set them off with communications of his presence which, though faint, seem great to them, with emotional sweetness and easy conquest over temptation. But he never allows this state of affairs to last long. Sooner or later, he withdraws, if not, in fact, at least from their conscious experience, all those supports and incentives. He leaves the creature to stand up on its own legs, to carry out from the will alone duties which have lost all relish. It is during such trough periods, much more than during the peak periods, that it is growing into the sort of creature he wants it to be. He wants them to learn to walk and must therefore take away his hand. And if only the will to walk is really there, he is pleased even with their stumbles. Do not be deceived, Wormwood. Our cause is never more in danger than when a human, no longer desiring, but still intending to do our enemy's will, looks round upon a universe from which every trace of him seems to have vanished, in which every trace of God seems to have vanished, and asks why he has been forsaken, and still obeys. For me, the deep lesson in this part of the story is, if we can find the courage to trust in the valleys of life, that if we can find the courage to trust most deeply in the valleys of life and trust in the path of our lives, then it is guaranteed that it is not meant to last, that a peak will come. And it does take courage to trust most deeply at our lowest point. But for me, it's an extremely helpful thought experiment. And we can use that throughout our lives, throughout the journey of our lives. And I encourage you guys to read the rest of this book. If you haven't, I'm sure many of you have, but it's one of my favorite books, The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, and he's written many others, of course, Chronicles of Narnia, The Abolition of Man, etc. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of Offerings of Hope, and I will see you guys next time.